Everybody's been raving about the Ferrari 296 GTB. I've been lucky enough to have one for over a year, so let me tell you what it's really like to live with. Here we go. Well, first of all, the looks of the car. I've always liked the car, but I didn't necessarily love it. But it really does grow on you. It's typical good design when something just gets better with a little bit of age. Now, one thing I love about that car, because my favourite car in the world is a Ferrari Enzo, and if you look at this A-pillar and this window line, it has those side cues of an Enzo. It's just fabulous looking car. It's just so sleek and smooth. It's just getting better and better. And that little waistline, wow, fabulous looking car. But one thing's better than the looks is what's under here. 820 horsepower masterpiece. So this is a 3-litre V6 with a hybrid powertrain. Now I have to say, after V12s and V10s, when I heard they were going to put a 3-litre V6 in this car, I'm like, oh, really? And when the car came, I was like, am I going to enjoy this car? But I cannot tell you what a masterpiece this engine is. Basically, the turbocharge and the hybrid powertrain goes together and fills all the gaps in the power delivery. So basically, from 0 RPM to 8,500 red line, there is no gaps in the power delivery. It is bonkers. If you can imagine a turbocharge that was on full boost 100% of the time, that's what this is like. But you can't feel either coming in because the hybrid just fills the gaps. It's just like linear. It's astonishing. Until you drive a car like this, you'll not understand. Because if you think 820 horsepower, that was like Formula One territory and hypercar territory only a few years ago. So it's just mind-blowing. Whilst I'm here, the exhaust note. That's another bone of contention, isn't it, with modern supercars? It's not as good as a V10 or a V12 screaming engine. But what they've managed to do with this car is make it sound good enough to enjoy. And actually, you get used to it. So you forget what cars were like in the past. So when you're in it, you just hear the noise. They call it a mini V12. Not so sure it is, but it does sound good. Or good enough anyway. And another thing that sets this car apart is its usability. So I'm going to pop inside the car now. I'm going to tell you a bit more what it's like to live with inside the car. So where this car stands out again is its practicality. Huge boot up the front, room behind the seats, loads of leg room, loads of headroom, really comfortable. I mean, this car's got the optional carbon fibre racing seats, which are a work of art, by the way, but it's still super comfortable. Cup holders, remote Apple CarPlay. This has got the optional JBL Hi-Fi, which is just fabulous. So everything you need from a car. But there's no point in having all that performance if you can't extract the performance. So let me show you a few things on the steering wheel which really makes this car usable in all conditions. So if I start the car, push this, first of all the ignition comes on, second press starts the car. But as it's in hybrid mode, when it starts, you don't know I've started the car. So the Manettino, like most Ferraris, makes this car super usable. Now, what it does, you've got wet mode, you've got sport mode, you've got race mode, various different versions of it. But when you do change the modes of this car, the way that it's mapped, it literally changes the personality. So in wet mode, you could put your granny in this car and she could extract the 800 horsepower from it. It's literally that good. And then take it up to track mode, the race mode, and it will let you slip as far as you dare, and then it catches you. So it makes you feel like Schumacher, but actually it only comes in right at the end to catch you, even though you haven't got the talent. So the usability and the drivability of this car is just unbelievable. That's like an excitement button in my world, because when you're on the right road and you can just let it slip a little bit, you just think, oh, I've done that. You might not have done, the car might have done it, but it just feels fabulous. And the important thing is the bumpy road mode. So you could have it in the more sporty modes, but still have the soft suspension. And that's another key to this car. The suspension is so compliant. It is such a comfortable car, even when you're driving it fast. I don't know why all supercars don't have a bumpy road button, because sometimes you want all the frills of the exciting settings, but you don't want to be crashing around, especially on UK roads. Fabulous. On the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you have 4 different modes for the powertrain. So you've got full electric mode, so it will do up to 15 miles in full electric. Great if you're in busy town centres or you're pulling away from your neighbours or something like that. It's in absolute silence. Hybrid mode, we know what that is. That's a bit of both, bit of hybrid, a bit of power. You've then got performance mode, which is just petrol power, but it also doesn't give you the full performance. And then you've got qualifying mode. That's the daddy. That's the full 820 horsepower. All the turbos, all the hybrid working together to give you that full performance. But in that mode as well, it also charges the battery. So that in just a few miles, you could go from 0 electric range to 15 miles range on the hybrid power. So it's bizarre. You've got all the power, but it's also charging the batteries at the same time. So when you're going around Silverstone and you're flying around doing amazing track times, on your way back, you can pop it into hybrid and you can just be cruising in silence on the way home. It's just like a technical masterpiece, but they made the system work, and that's the key. The rest of the car. So the infotainment, I have to say, is absolutely the most annoying thing about this car, if I can show you. So basically you've got a touch screen here. So if you touch this, you can then go through your Apple CarPlay and your various different devices, but that's like a mouse on a computer that controls the screen here. But I have to say, at least 50% of the time I pressed that button, it doesn't recognize my finger. So whilst you're driving along, you're looking at that and looking at that. Has it worked? Has it not worked? It's like, oh my God. And then when you have it in Apple CarPlay, so I put it in Apple CarPlay now, you can see, you lose the rev counter. So you've got a Ferrari, a supercar, and you're driving along. Generally, I always have my Apple CarPlay on, and I've lost my rev counter. I mean, Ferrari, what are you thinking about? But that's just one downside to it. But the rest of it is just fabulous. So the other thing that really sets these cars apart at the moment is the value for money. So if you think about it, you've got the looks of an MC20, the performance and exhilaration of a McLaren 750, the usability of a 911 Turbo, all in one car and currently great value. This is not only the best supercar you can currently buy, it's the best value supercar you can buy. I cannot tell you how good this car is. It's fabulous.